Active learning. Instructional strategies that engage students in activities such as discussions, problem-solving, and hands-on tasks. It moves beyond passive reception of information and promotes higher-order thinking. Andragogy, a theory developed by Malcolm Knowles focusing on adult learning, emphasizing self-direction, life experience, and readiness to learn as core principles. Assessment for learning. Ongoing assessments that provide feedback to improve student performance, often informal and formative in nature, focusing on learning progress. Assessment of learning. Summative evaluation of student achievement, typically at the end of an instructional period to measure learning outcomes. Backward design. Curriculum planning strategy that starts with identifying desired learning outcomes and then works backward to develop assessments and instructional strategies. Behaviorism. A learning theory that emphasizes observable behaviors and their reinforcement. It is foundational to traditional instructional methods and behavior modification. Blended learning. Combines face-to-face instruction with online learning components, allowing flexibility in pace, place, and learning path. Classroom climate. The overall atmosphere of the classroom, shaped by teacher-student relationships, behavior norms, and emotional tone, which significantly affects student motivation and engagement. Classroom management. A set of practices used by teachers to create an environment conducive to learning, including discipline strategies, routines, and student engagement. Cognitive load. Refers to the amount of mental effort required to process information. Effective teaching reduces unnecessary cognitive load to facilitate learning. Collaborative learning. An approach where students work together to solve problems, complete tasks, or discuss concepts, emphasizing interaction and shared responsibility. Competency-based learning. Focuses on students demonstrating mastery of specific skills or knowledge, often progressing at their own pace. Constructivism. A theory stating learners actively construct their own knowledge through experience and reflection, promoting inquiry-based learning. Content knowledge. Refers to a teacher's deep understanding of the subject matter they teach, enabling accurate and meaningful instruction. Contextual learning. Learning that is connected to real-world situations, helping students relate content to their own lives and future roles. Critical thinking. The ability to analyze, evaluate, and synthesize information in a logical, reasoned manner. It is a key objective in higher education. Culturally responsive teaching. Pedagogy that acknowledges and incorporates students' cultural backgrounds and experiences to make learning more relevant and effective. Curriculum alignment. Ensuring that learning objectives, instructional methods, and assessment strategies are consistent and support each other. Curriculum mapping. A process for documenting and analyzing the content and skills taught across a program to identify gaps, redundancies, and coherence. Differentiated instruction. Tailoring instruction to meet individual learner needs based on readiness, interests, and learning styles through flexible strategies. Digital literacy. The ability to effectively and critically use digital tools and resources for communication, collaboration, and learning. Direct instruction. A structured, teacher-led approach focusing on clear objectives, demonstration, guided practice, and assessment. Discovery learning. An inquiry-based method where students explore, experiment, and arrive at conclusions independently, fostering deeper understanding. Educational equity. Ensures that personal or social circumstances do not hinder student achievement, emphasizing fairness in access, participation, and outcomes. Emotional intelligence. The capacity to recognize, understand, and manage emotions in oneself and others, essential for building supportive learning environments. Engagement. Refers to students' psychological investment in learning, including behavioral participation, emotional involvement, and cognitive effort. Experiential learning. Learning through reflection on doing, often in real-life contexts such as internships, labs, or community-based projects. Feedback. Information provided to students about their performance with the intent of guiding future improvement and reinforcing strengths. Flipped classroom. A model where students learn new content at home, via videos, readings, and use class time for active practice and problem solving. Formative assessment. Low-stakes assessments used during instruction to monitor learning and provide feedback for both students and teachers. Gamification. Incorporating game elements into learning environments to motivate students, increase participation, and enhance engagement. Growth mindset. Coined by Carol Dweck, it refers to the belief that intelligence and abilities can be developed through effort and learning. Higher-order thinking. Involves complex cognitive processes such as analysis, evaluation, and creation, often assessed through open-ended or performance tasks. Inclusive teaching. Creating an environment that supports diverse learners by addressing barriers related to disability, language, culture, or background. Instructional design. The systematic development of instructional materials and experiences using learning theory and technology. Interactive teaching. Involves reciprocal interaction between teacher and students through discussion, questioning, and hands-on activities. Intrinsic motivation. The internal desire to learn or achieve, driven by interest, curiosity, or personal satisfaction rather than external rewards. Knowledge transfer. The ability to apply learned skills or knowledge to new and unfamiliar contexts, a hallmark of deep understanding. Learning analytics. The measurement and analysis of learner data to inform instruction and improve student outcomes. Learning objectives. Specific statements detailing what students should know or be able to do at the end of a lesson or unit. Learning outcomes. Broad statements describing what learners will gain from a program, including knowledge, skills, and attitudes. Lesson planning. The process of designing effective instructional sessions, incorporating goals, materials, methods, and assessments. Metacognition. Thinking about one's own thinking. Involves planning, monitoring, and evaluating one's learning strategies and performance. Mind mapping. A visual technique for organizing information around a central concept, aiding memory, comprehension, and creativity. Modeling. Demonstrating a process or behavior to students as a way of guiding their learning. Modular teaching. Dividing content into self-contained modules to support flexible learning and assessment. Motivation strategies. Techniques used to stimulate student interest and encourage sustained learning effort. Multimodal instruction. Using various sensory modes, visual, auditory, kinesthetic, to deliver instruction and reinforce understanding. Nonverbal communication. Use of body language, facial expressions, and gestures in the teaching process to support verbal messages. Open-ended questions. Prompts that encourage extended responses, deeper thinking, and exploration of ideas without a single correct answer. Outcome-based education, OB. An approach that defines clear learning outcomes students must achieve and aligns instruction and assessment to ensure mastery of those outcomes. Peer assessment. Students evaluate each other's work using set criteria, fostering critical thinking and deeper understanding of assessment standards. Peer learning. A cooperative process where students learn from each other through structured activities, discussions, and shared responsibilities. Pedagogical content knowledge, PCK. Coined by Lee Schulman, this is the blend of content and pedagogy that makes teaching effective and comprehensible for learners. Personalized learning. Instructional strategies tailored to individual student needs, interests, and learning profiles, often supported by technology. Portfolio assessment. A collection of student work over time used to evaluate growth, skills, and competencies in a more holistic way. Problem-based learning, PBL. A student-centered pedagogy where learners develop knowledge by solving complex, real-world problems collaboratively. Procedural knowledge. Understanding of how to perform tasks, methods, and processes, such as solving equations or conducting experiments. Project-based learning. Students engage in sustained inquiry and create tangible outputs, e.g. reports, presentations, to solve real-life challenges. Reflective practice. Teachers critically assess their own instructional methods and decisions to continuously improve teaching effectiveness. Remedial teaching. Instructional support given to students who are struggling, aiming to bridge learning gaps and reach expected competencies. Rubrics. Scoring guides that outline criteria for evaluating performance, making assessment transparent and objective. Scaffolding. Support provided to students as they learn new concepts, which is gradually reduced as competence increases. Self-assessment. Students reflect on and evaluate their own learning progress and outcomes using structured tools or criteria. Self-efficacy. A learner's belief in their own ability to succeed at tasks, strongly linked to motivation and academic performance. Service learning. Combines community service with structured learning goals and reflection, integrating civic engagement into the curriculum. Situated learning. Learning that takes place in the same context in which it is applied, emphasizing relevance and practical experience. Skill-based learning. Focused on developing specific competencies or skills, e.g. writing, programming, through practice and feedback. Socratic questioning. A disciplined questioning technique that encourages critical thinking and deeper understanding through dialogue. Spiral curriculum. Jerome Bruner's idea that complex ideas can be taught at a simplified level and revisited with increasing depth over time. Standards-based grading. Assessment based on clearly defined learning standards, with grades reflecting levels of mastery instead of averages. Student-centered learning. An approach where students take responsibility for their own learning, with teachers acting as facilitators rather than lecturers. Student engagement. The degree of attention, curiosity, and investment students show in the learning process, often linked to achievement. Summative assessment. Formal assessments that evaluate student learning at the end of an instructional unit, such as final exams or projects. Teaching philosophy. A statement reflecting a teacher's beliefs about teaching, learning, and the instructional methods they use. Teaching portfolio. A comprehensive record of a teacher's instructional practices, achievements, philosophy, and professional development. Technological pedagogical content knowledge, TPAC. Framework that identifies the knowledge required to integrate technology effectively into pedagogy and content areas. Think-Aloud protocols. Students verbalize their thought process while solving problems, allowing teachers to assess reasoning and misconceptions. Think Pair Share. An interactive strategy where students think individually, discuss with a partner, then share ideas with the larger group. Time on task. Refers to the duration students spend actively engaged in learning activities, a key factor in academic success. Transfer of learning. Application of learned knowledge or skills to new situations, demonstrating true understanding and adaptability. Universal Design for Learning (UDL). A framework for designing curriculum that accommodates all learners by offering multiple means of representation, expression, and engagement. Verbal feedback. Oral comments provided during or after performance to guide improvement, correct misconceptions, or reinforce good practices. Visual learning. Learning style that prefers information presented in visual formats like diagrams, charts, and images for better comprehension. Whole class instruction. Teaching method where the same lesson is delivered to all students simultaneously, often used for direct instruction. Zone of Proximal Development (ZPD). Concept by Vygotsky, describing the range of tasks a learner can perform with guidance, but not yet independently. 21st century skills. Skills essential for success in today's world, including critical thinking, creativity, communication, collaboration, and digital literacy. Academic discourse. The formal language used in educational settings to discuss concepts, argue positions, and analyze information. Analytical thinking. The ability to deconstruct information into parts to examine relationships, logic, and patterns for problem solving. Brainstorming. A group technique to generate creative ideas or solutions without immediate judgment or evaluation. Chalk and talk. Traditional lecture-based teaching using Blackboard and oral explanation, still effective for content-heavy topics. Code switching. Shifting between languages or dialects in the classroom to enhance comprehension and inclusivity, especially in multilingual settings. Concept mapping. A graphic organizer that represents relationships among concepts, helping students visualize and connect ideas. Cross-curricular teaching. Integrating content and skills from multiple subjects into a single learning activity to deepen understanding. Debriefing. Reflective discussion following an activity or assessment to consolidate learning and clarify doubts. Digital pedagogy. The use of digital tools and platforms to enhance teaching and learning, focusing on interaction and student autonomy. Discipline-specific pedagogy, teaching methods tailored to the nature and needs of specific academic disciplines, e.g., problem-solving in math versus writing in humanities. Educational technology, EdTech, the use of technological tools to enhance teaching and learning outcomes, such as LMS, AR/VR, and simulations. Fluency, ease and accuracy in performing a skill or using knowledge, developed through repeated practice and feedback. Wait time, a deliberate pause after a teacher's question to give students time to think and formulate more thoughtful responses.